I'm going to share with you a little bit about one chapter of Rick's life in high school, Midvale, Idaho. Rick was my high school youth leader for 3 years in a small town. And this is in the late 1980s, and then I graduated high school and left. So what did I learn from Rick Karjalainen in those 3 years? How do you spell Karjalainen, by the way? It's a little bit, every time I go into my phone or my address book, I can't spell it very well. But so Rick Karjalainen. Rick was adventurous. He moved to a small town in Idaho. I mean, who does that? It's like this is a small town, I think, Coopville, but Midvale is like really small, 208 people. And I think it's declining. But who does that? Who moves to a small town in Idaho? And then he started a youth ministry. There wasn't a lot of youth there in the first place. He joined our church, and then there was these kind of old small town storefronts. We rented one out, and he started a youth ministry there called High Times. High Times, we had a lot of fun there. Not marijuana or that. There was no marijuana at the High Times, but. We had a lot of fun in there, and he put couches in there, a big wrestling mat. There was, I think he had an office in there, and we would gather there as teenagers. I remember one summer in this adventurous spirit Rick had. I don't know where he got the idea. Maybe it was from the Lord, but we got a old pickup truck and then a flatbed trailer. And, you know, those trailers like you'd stack a bunch of hay bales on. And then we went down to the park in Midvale, and we kind of rehearsed for a little while. We put together like a little play and some songs, and we had like a sound system on the trailer. And he's like, "Okay, we're gonna drive through these small towns in Idaho, and we're gonna like perform, and we're just gonna show up, and we're not gonna bring any money, and we're not gonna bring any food." And why did my parents let me go on that trip? I don't know that. I don't know why, but. We'd go to the park. I remember in Riggins, Idaho, we'd go into the park, and then we would just hand out little flyers and say, "Hey, come tonight to the park. We're just going to share a message and have fun." Churches would come, and they would feed us. I think we slept on the floor in a couple churches in these small towns. But, Rick was that kind of guy. He was adventurous, and he lived by faith. He was not, at least I didn't see any worry on his face or concern. But that was Rick. He was adventurous. I know you kind of lean towards the serious side of your father, but he was funny. He was full of joy. And in the same vein, I do have a verse also from Ecclesiastes. King Solomon said there's a time for everything. There's a season for every activity under the sun, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. This is a time of sadness, but we'll do the fun stuff too. Rick, he laughed a lot. He had a contagious laugh. He encouraged laughter. I don't remember like specific jokes he would tell, but he was just funny. He was filled with joy, and it was contagious. And then at that High Times Center, I remember me and my friends, we were kind of getting into little movies and making videos, and he's like, "Hey, we have this youth conference coming up. Why don't you make some funny videos for that?" So we would model them off of those Saturday Night Live sketches, and we made these little silly goofy videos, and they were so nerdy and dumb, but Rick, he joined us too. It wasn't like he just said, "Okay guys, take the camera and go do it," but he joined us. And so I do have, I think I shared it with the family, but still some of those old videos of him with the goofy hat on and playing these making these silly videos with us. Rick was also serious too. That time in life, I mean, you think about when you're in high school, it's pretty transformational. Pretty important time in life. He taught us the Bible, me and my friends. I'm thinking about me and my friend group. He took us to conferences, summer camps, winter camps. He helped us make wise decisions in our life. He was a good blend. He had a good blend of fun and laughter and seriousness. He taught us how to live out our faith in this difficult world. Life is hard, and he taught us how to kind of walk through that. Me and my friends had a lot of serious discussions there at the High Times Center. We would talk about faith and theology and, if I died, am I going to go to heaven? We'd have those kind of questions and discussions with him. And he would sit and listen to us during all those discussions. So that High Times Center, I just think back on it, it was a safe place where teenagers could come together and connect and learn, and Rick was kind of at the center of that. What else did I learn from Rick? Rick was he was really good at relationships. I mean, I think that's why you're all here, right? Because he related to you in a beautiful way. So I noticed that in high school. It's not easy to connect with high schoolers, but he could do it, you know. I have 3 teenage kids now, 18, 15, and 14. And, there's a certain position that I play as a father and my wife as a mother. But I pray that God would bring other adults into my kids' life that will speak faith and wisdom to them. And I have a great mom and a great dad, but Rick was kind of that other adult that spoke into our lives. So I know you probably feel that as well. If you have kids or teenage kids, just pray that God would bring other wise, godly people into their lives. And that was Rick for me in high school. We could talk, he would listen, we'd laugh together, give wise counsel. And, we'd talk about the things that maybe I didn't want to talk to my parents about, like relationships and hormones and those kinds of things. So Rick probably heard too much from me. He was supportive. He came to not all of them, but he came to football games, basketball games. He did try to convert me to wrestling, but I was stubborn on that one. I stuck with the basketball, football thing, but he tried. He tried to convert me to wrestling. He walked through lots of drama with us. And in high school, you kind of want to be cool and you want to be noticed. And so this Jesus thing is not typically very cool, and you're not really looking at other older Christians and going, yeah, I want to be like that Christian, because usually you're like, no, they're nerdy and weird. But Rick, he made following Jesus interesting, and he made following Jesus cool, I thought. So I appreciate that about Rick as well. Rick loved well, he loved Jesus well, and he loved people. Jesus kind of boiled it down very simply for all of us to understand. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and all your mind and all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that's what Rick did. Rick loved Jesus well. Everything he did, it just flowed from his relationship with Jesus. So I think if I'm connecting that, his ability to be relational flowed from his relationship with Jesus. He helped me to know that following Jesus, again, it wasn't weird. And as a high schooler going through lots of drama, I needed that in my life. And lastly, Rick, he inspired me. I just kept thinking of that word as I've been thinking about Rick this last month. He inspired me. He dared great things. He had great faith. He had some great adventures. He inspired me to pursue my interest in film and media and television. That all those little videos we made, I ended up going into the TV business and film business as a career, and then also in serving Jesus and loving others. So I also pursued a career in the ministry. So as Rick inspired me, not just to be a person who heard about Jesus. I think that's kind of the crux of when I read the scriptures. When Jesus came, he taught. But one of his main messages was, don't just hear the word, don't just listen to it, you got to do it, So Rick helped us hear about Jesus, we talked about Jesus, but he really helped us to look like Jesus and act like Jesus. So I'm grateful for Rick, and I really needed him in my life back in high school, so thank God for that.